Welcome to the Goodenall Talks. Prescription strength, scientifically designed to go right to your brain. You have a moral argument, Ned, that you claim no one has been able to provide constructive criticism for.
I guess the main giveaways that you have to be willing to agree that there, at least is in possibility, there is a omni God. And again, omni in this context means without bound. There is absolutely nothing this God cannot do. Secondarily, this God is timeless in that it knows the beginning from the end. And then third is that it needs to have a plan. This plan needs to utilize the universe that it's constructed. And then I guess I should back up a second on that omni, the omnibenevolent is going to be part of that. In other words, all of its work is toward the greatest of all good. At that point, there is no such thing as morality anymore. Morality is completely a meaningless term, because if this God has set this plan in action, so to speak, and this action will end up in the ultimate of all goods, and every action is building toward that. In other words, the ultimate good is contingent on every action prior to the fruition of this. We, because of our limited perspective, don't understand that is for the greatest of all good. And the analogy I use for that is a child getting a shot for, the flu or, some other reason. The child can't understand that through that small amount of pain, it literally saves the kid's life. If you believe in a God, as I've described it, how could anything be considered evil? I've had this out for about 2 years now, and I don't get any response at all. It's that I shouldn't say that. I get the same typical response. Theist is the stupidest argument in the world. Okay, great. Why? Dead silence. And then from the atheist side, ooh, this is a great argument. Okay, great. Why? Well, because you can use it against theists. It doesn't. There's no meat behind it. It doesn't give me any direction to go. So that's why I'm frustrated with. Anybody?
I have a similar complaint with Christianity, and I'll burn through it quick here. I think that that Christians that don't trust science don't trust God. And here's why I think that. I think that God created humans, and God created humans that are competent enough, at least I think this is what Christians think, that are competent enough to navigate their reality, to navigate their surroundings, to understand the surroundings enough to survive in the surroundings, to make use of the surroundings. Except for when it comes to these one or two really special questions that disagree with God. Oh, no, we don't understand. It's too big of a mystery. We can't ask these questions. We can't answer these questions. But we can certainly answer all these other super complicated questions about nature. Do you think God made you defective? Do you think God made you a fucking retard where you can't understand evolution? You can't understand the cosmos? Did God make you incompetent, or is God incompetent? So I kind of have a similar complaint, I think, but I don't really think it gets anywhere. You know what I mean? Yes, Shanna, I know what you mean.
Was that to me, or was that that's what I'm saying? I didn't know if that was
whatever. I don't care.
Okay. If something is omnipotent in all areas, there's no way for that will to be thwarted. So not only would each action be necessary, but it would be the greatest of all goods at that point. And if you don't agree with that, that's where I want to go, because that's one of the things that I do feel I feel like I may be overstepping there.
Yeah, I think my knee jerk right now is that it's a semantics game, right? And it's not a very effective one. While I kind of agree with your conclusion that if everything that's happening is to serve the end of X, then all these things are just a bunch of X's. Especially if this God's omni, right? Especially if it's all powerful, because it made it the case that this is how it would end. It can't end any other way. It's a fixed game. But then what? Where do you go from there? Like, if that's the case, if they concede that, then what?
So what this, at least in my opinion, can do is once we get to the point where there is no such thing as evil, what is the point of all of this? Of number one, you're preaching. Number two, this adherence to all of these laws. Why do you think that at all any of this is meaningful anymore?
Seems like it's an argument trying to point to the absurdities and the inconsistencies.
Yeah,
like it's almost like an argument of what's that one called? Reduction to
reductio ad absurdum. Yeah,
I don't know, but you know what I mean.
I guess it could get to that point. Number one, one of the things that bothers me more than anything about religion is not squaring these circles and being able to run with these cognitive dissonant thoughts constantly and not explain them. So when I find something like that, I really tend to focus on it and go, okay, explain this to me. If I'm explaining your God right, then this is how the universe should be. And then when I get the pushback and no, that's ridiculous. Okay, great. What did I miss?
Just knowing the outcome. Like if I knew the outcome of the Super Bowl game today, that doesn't mean that I dictated it, right? Just because I know what's going to happen doesn't mean that I controlled every little thing that happened. I just know how the game is designed. I know how it's played. I know that nobody's going to kick it, to get a goal. It's that it's going to, well, actually, no, that could happen. Nobody's going to,
but at the same time,
nobody's going to use a bat to hit that football today.
I have a way more important question. Shanna, do you want cheddar cheese in your burritos? And if you do you want a full ounce or a half ounce?
So I do. Did you do cheddar cheese in them last week?
Last week I used Nun's cheese.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So I want the cheese, please. And I want, I think we did half ounce that one time, didn't we?
We may have rabbit.
We may have rabbit. I will take 1 full ounce of cheddar cheese, please.
Good.
Thank you. You're so good to me. When talking about like a deistic God, to be careful not to inject, like, it's not theism light. It's not Christianity light. It's not this guy that made everything is like, meh, fuck you. Like, it's not like that, right? I don't think that emotions or morality are something that would apply to a creator in the way that it applies to us. I think that most of our morality is very much dictated by the environment that we evolved in. Because a really good example of this, I think Oz used to say it all the time, is like, the only reason I shouldn't stab you and that it's wrong is because it hurts you. It harms the organism, right? But if we lived in a land where I could just like poke you and stab you and it didn't hurt you, it tickled. Now morality is very different, right? If it didn't hurt your feelings or make you sad to be socially outcast, it wouldn't be frowned upon by the rest of us social creatures. So I think it's very much dictated by the planet that we evolved on. And I don't think that it applies to a God. I don't think because something makes me feel good and happy, it would also make that God feel good and happy. I think there's a very, very basic just like the things that we need to operate in our environment, to operate as a social species. And I don't think there's any good arguments to say that a God is a social species that has these same values that we do. So I don't think that it's fair or accurate. Fair is a child's word, I understand, but accurate to say that, or it's just a God that just doesn't care, right? It probably cares, but in a way that doesn't make any fucking sense to us because we're not it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, like, yes, and see, for me, this is like singing my song. Like this music makes sense to me because, like, I don't necessarily think that, I think that a child being harmed is a horrible thing. It makes me sad. I ache for people, But I don't think that a God would ache over it. Like, that's a part of the program. That's how this works, right?
Yeah,
you stick knives in it, it bleeds. Like,
could it be the case that the only thing that God can do at the beginning is to try to set up everything as best as he can, knowing full well that things will happen, even if he knows that, okay? And I understand that he can change that, but, changing might imply other choices. So we have no way to finding out if actually a perfect creation where everything which is created, it is possible to save all of them. So might it be possible that is, in a way, doing his very best given the material that he built?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But again, I think that if we do that, then we're moving away from what would be, I
Yes.
guess.
No, I totally get you. The Omni thing gets kind of sketchy. I get you. And there is also the thing which I said at the beginning that I think, you might find that there is a paradox that this God basically values the free will that you have more than the eternal salvation that you will have.
Oh yeah, and if that's the God's goal, then you're absolutely right.
That's kind of sketchy. No, but I'm just saying that, and I was making my reference to Jesuits because again, I'm not even going to try to play the devil's advocate here because I really don't know, but there is a fuzzy distinction in Catholicism, for example, because when they talk about the creation and the God, they talk about saving the human being, but and again, it's really fuzzy because they both mean everybody and you. So in a way, there will be times where they say, listen, all this creation is set up in such a way that you have all the chances to make the right choices to save yourself, as if the whole creation is around you. You are the main subject. And then they will say, and I understand it's a little bit difficult, but, and then they will say the following sentence will be, now imagine that all the creation is centered on you, and at the same time, all the creation is centered on everybody else.
The problem is I think this always
there is a shitload of problems. Yeah,
well, I know, but the main one is understanding and knowing what this God's will is. What is the plan? What is the goal here? Because if it is to, for lack of a better term, separate the herd, so to speak, into the goats and the sheep, then yeah, free will's a pretty good, I guess, somewhat a good vehicle to get there. But if it's not, if it's more that God is not trying to, because he's omni, is mandating the best of all possible outcomes, then I don't see how free will in any way, shape, or form is going to play into that. It's maybe it's a nice bonus feature, but it's not the main purpose of the game. But that God would know, if it is an omni God, would know that I'm not convinced at this point. Not only that, but this actually got into the final question that Landon posited to us at the end, as far as what would it take for us to change. But again, that God not only knows that I'm not convinced, but it knows what it would take to convince me.
If there is such a thing as an objective good and objective bad in this universe, then it's subjective to God. If it's not subjective from God's perspective, then it's a reality objective that God is confined by. So God's not omni anymore. God's following the rules. Whose rules is God following? It's just weird when they take it.
Because that goes right back to Euthyphro.
And sorry, talking about motivation and will to live, just a 30-second thing. Your wife too, she has a math PhD, Ned?
Yeah, that's her, all of her, she's got 2 masters and her undergraduate. It's all mathematics.
I feel your pain. You really are a brother from another mother in another continent, because I'm sharing the same thing, and I know it's tough. It is
actually tough. I mean, I don't know what your situation, Fabio, but I actually enjoy it. I mean, me and her, I don't know why, but it's I would not change it at all. I love the way she is. I love the way she thinks, and it makes my life wonderful being with her.
I'm not saying
it's great.
I wouldn't change it either. I'm just saying that it's not difficult. I mean, There are easier ways to accomplish what we have, and this is the hard one. It's more satisfying. But anyway, I feel your pain. Just want to say that. You're not alone.
Hey, I don't mean to break up this love fest, but your wives suck compared to mine.
Yeah, you're right. Because, I mean, we know your wife, so we can't.
What the fuck is it? I mean, is this the reverse biggest dick contest? What the fuck is that? Where did it came from?
Who's the biggest whipped person here? Well, I definitely will. I will step up and say that's got to be me.
Oh man! So it's not a pissing contest; it's a whipping contest.
Yep.
Of course, your wife is the best, Christopher. And there is a very good reason for that. She's the only one in the hangout right fucking now.
That's right. So, I'm the one here. I win.
And you win.
Your wife's here, Fabio. She wins.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I will leave. So I'll leave it to you guys.
I think it's important to play that, to dance the dance. Do it.
Oh, shit.
I take pleasure in when I'm able to point out my own flaws, when I'm able to go, hey, I'm being a little fucking cunt right now, and I should be checked. Somebody should stop me. That makes me feel good about myself that I'm able to go, hey, recognize my bad behaviors and try to adjust in the right direction. I get an ego boost out of that. I can see why it would be rewarding for them to think, I am horrible. It is a good thing that God loved. Like, I can see why that would be a self-feeding positive cycle for them. But from my chair, from where I sit, it looks like an abusive relationship. Like, you're not good enough, but he loves you anyway. You don't deserve anything, but he's going to give you everything he has if you just hang in there and love him right. Like, this is so abusive. He knows where you are. He knows what you're thinking. It's like thought policing. Like, this is like the most epic game of abusive relationship the world has ever seen, ever. That's how it looks from my chair.
It's also a fucking ticking bomb, because if you find someone like that, do you really want to engage in a conversation which potentially might change their mind? Do you really want to do that?
No, I don't want to be there when those people stop thinking that's true. No.
Right? I mean, by their own admission, they're fucking sociopath. So this is what is keeping you in shape? Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'll drive you to church every day.
I had this guy once. He was trying to save me. It doesn't matter. We were sitting in his church. I'm like, yeah, let's play. Like, I'm bored. So we're sitting in their church. We're in this room. He goes through blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, that's all interesting, but I don't believe it. I don't agree with it. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. And he gave me the same moral argument, which is this really, really simplistic, like, morality 101 view of the world. Well, how can you be moral without God? I didn't even dignify the question with an answer. I said, that's a ridiculous question. And it demonstrates how little you understand about anything. So I don't know how to have a conversation with you. And I don't have the time to educate you, so fuck off, right? And he was like, well, if there's no God, and he like chucks his Bible across this fucking room, and he's like, then what's keeping me from murdering and raping and stealing? I'm like, brother, you need that fucking book to not murder, rape, and steal. Please pick it the fuck up. Like, I will donate money to this church to keep you from the murder, raping, and like, if that's what you need to be good, fine. If that's what you need to find peace at night because the world's so big and scary, cool. But you need to keep your fucking nasty shit to yourself and don't act like I need to worry about it or I need to be a part of it. I got my shit under control.
You were there for the whole thing. What did you think for the time that you were awake?
Oh my God, he was so... Do you want me to be nice? Is this the nice thing we talked about? Do I have to be nice?
No, because he's not here.
Oh, okay. I think he's great. Like, he's not well, and he's a dick. Like, he doesn't hear anything. He is on autopilot. He is literally just saying, so evolution falls apart. Atheism's knocked on its heels. It's off its pillars. What are you going to do now, atheist? And you atheists are like, but that's not why we're atheists. We're atheists because, but we're not. It's not like I was a Christian and then evolution convinced me Christianity is false and now I'm an atheist. Like, that's not what. And he's like, yeah. So what are you going to do about atheism now that evolution's on its heels? Like, what? That man is ridiculous. The fact that anyone with an IQ over 87 talks to him, I think, is a kindness. I think that it is a kindness that you gentlemen perform because he's ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
Well, at least one of us has an IQ over 87. So.
I was talking about you. I was 86. And Ned, to your point from earlier, I would like to be a deist as well, because I would like to think crazy fucking things about the world.
You know what, Chris?
That would be awesome. I would love to justify like
Just keep going.
about the world on my deism.
You are silly.
This is amazing. He made the very same mistake 2 weeks ago.
He did.
He's talking shit about Shanna. She literally lives 3 meters from him.
Yeah.
She can probably, I don't know, kill him right now and be back
Yeah.
before I stop
In 30
speaking.
seconds. It wouldn't take me nothing.
Right.
Why would you kill me?
Because she loves you and you want to be reincarnated in something more, I don't know.
No, because every action's good, and that's what God deemed
Right.
as part of his
Oh.
action.
Oh,
Wow.
That's part of his plan.
Wow, great, man.
I'll follow through, Ned. Jesus.
Got to close the circle, man.